I call this meeting to order. Please rise for the pledges. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Please be seated. City Secretary, do we have a quorum?
Yes, Mayor. All members are present here today, excluding Councilor Sarah Tandy. The notice of this meeting was posted by 2 p.m. on June 3rd.
Thank you. City Manager.
We are going to jump right into the fiscal year 2022-2023 budget workshop. This is the first one of many. Can you?
Yeah.
Sorry, I got to get the ability to share my screen. Get the light. It was headed that way. So over the past 5 months, we've been working on various aspects of the budget for this upcoming fiscal year. The departments have been given several, I don't want to say tasks, but they've provided feedback on different expenses, on the needs, on priorities, understanding what's reoccurring, understanding what they need to basically operate their departments. We did send out a budget questionnaire so that we could also get council feedback. It was a list of just some questions in regards to thinking about our employees, but kind of outside the box as well. And so I wanted to share tonight the feedback from the council members, and then take what was provided from the feedback and implement that into an actual numbers. So the first question, we're going to go side by side, and I really do welcome any comments or questions because this will help build the actual presentation of the budget. And so of course the main one that I think everyone really wants to understand is what services or issues should the city prioritize. So everyone was pretty much on board with the water and wastewater, city paving, new city hall, equipment, retaining employees, of course the budget, looking at the preventative maintenance of the streets, equipment needs, training, all infrastructure. I think after our priorities and goals meeting that we had, it was really eye-opening for everyone to understand we really want to move forward and be successful, but we really don't have the resources to do it. So council and the departments are really in line with each other, which is really welcoming to see, not only from what departments presented, but what council has presented. It's about the employees, it's about the equipment, it's about the infrastructure, and it's moving forward. The questions that of course nobody likes to answer or to be asked. What changes to the city's tax rate would you support to maintain or improve city services? So the city has multiple options when establishing their tax rate. We have currently not raised our taxes for quite some time, and at the next meeting where we have a budget workshop, we will go into more detail on that. This is just the overview side. So the options are, we go no new revenue. This is what used to be called the effective tax rate. This is the rate that, based on our appraised values, would bring in no more money than we brought in the prior year. Typically you're looking, I mean, it's a flat. If any extra money is being brought in, it's usually between 10 and 20,000. It's not a significant number. You have the voter approval rate. The state legislation 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, passed a whole new setup for the tax rates, and they took the max we could go before you had to go out for voter approval, which was 8%. So prior, the city had the option to go out for 8% before we had to actually get voter approval. The voter approval rate is now 3.5%. And that was a compromise. At one point, the state was going to lower it to 2%. You have the de minimis rate, which is the tax rate that allows the city to bring in exactly $500,000 more in taxes. It's kind of a flat rate. You bring in $500,000 more. It is typically higher than your voter approval rate. And then you kind of have the in between. You have the, I'm going to raise taxes, but I'm not going to raise them to 3.5. I'm going to raise them 1%, 2%, or 3%. This, of course, does not need voter approval, but it is part of the discussion. So when asked with council where or what we would like to do, a lot of you did approve a raise, an increase in the rates, anywhere from just an increase to the 3.5 approval rate. So next time we look at the budget, I will include a breakdown of what it would look based on our estimated values. It's really hard to have the tax rate discussion. State law requires we pass the budget and then approve the taxes. So you kind of do an estimate based off of our preliminary appraised values and what we foresee they may look at. And then, of course, the truth in taxation form, which breaks down all of the ins and outs of how to establish a tax rate, which will be provided to you guys as well. So overall, council is looking at a possible increase, but definitely future discussion is what it would do and how it would impact the residents.
Megan, what are your assumptions on the tax rate?
To raise it. I don't.
To what? I mean, have you thought of?
Ideally, because we have not raised tax rates, I look at it from inflation's been doing this and we're doing this. We're not going to catch up to here because we haven't raised the taxes to try and stay in line with the inflation rate. Ideally, I don't think it should be a huge impact against the citizens and the residents because property taxes a big topic of conversation. I would like to look at the approval rate before we decide at another rate, but we may need to also take into consideration everything else that's been going on within our city. So I'd like to start off with a 3.5 and then discuss and compromise to see where we could balance the budget the best.
Mayor, the state legislature has limited the amount that cities can raise taxes annually. And so you can't really, if something big happens, we can't raise them a large amount. So it's better for the city to raise them incrementally year by year so that you don't get yourself backed into a corner where you need to raise it above the rate that the state legislature says you can't do it.
Any other questions? Do you feel that the city should invest in having a 5- and 10-year strategic plan that addresses the needs of the community, infrastructure, and economic development? So this one is a big one for me. I think it's really important that we have a strategic plan. When you look at other cities, you will see that they have something in place, whether it's a 1-year plan, a 5-year plan. I asked specifically if we should do this and if we should do this in-house or if we should contract out and hire a consultant. That doesn't mean that we would have someone do it all on our behalf. They would guide us on the steps on how to put this together. Step one ultimately is to involve our community and understand what are their priorities and needs. We've all had everyone up here at some point throughout the past year with our infrastructure, with our, which includes our water, our wastewater, our roads, our, living, what do we have to offer? How do we get businesses in here? Having a plan in place allows us to kind of have that box to check off. These are the steps we need to do to get to this next level. It also gives us an understanding of, is this something we want to accomplish now, or do we want to accomplish it in the 10 years? It is a big push with a lot of cities more recently, because a lot of us as cities are facing infrastructure needs. And you want to be able to plan. And the big part of planning helps with your economic development. Because we don't have a set plan in place, developing does become an issue. it becomes an issue with, do we have the services available? We have parts of town that they don't have access to water and wastewater because the infrastructure was never planned or developed into that area. And so these are huge expenses that if a contractor comes in and I want to put 100 houses, we don't want to say no. We want them to come in and build 100 houses. But then we have to take that step back and say, okay, well, we want them to build them, but we can't provide them water. We can't provide them wastewater. We might be able to get them gas. And then also the impact it has on our infrastructure. We did have developments come in recently with Skyway Gardens, and the whole process, it was a little bit harder because we didn't have that infrastructure. They agreed to a development agreement, they put in the infrastructure, but the long-term impact on the water is something that will have to be discussed in the future, because all of a sudden you have more housing and you have less water for down the road. There are a lot of interested parties right now in building duplexes and houses, and it's really hard because we want to say, yeah, we're ready, let's do this, but we don't have the availability to provide the.
But don't we have businesses right now that we can't provide that are in the city?
Correct.
Don't you think they ought to take precedent over all these new people?
And those are
Just my
expenses
opinion.
that if we plan for, like if we're going to develop, start from inside first and then move out. This plan would also kind of give not only us as public servants, but the residents, that accountability is, we invite them, we encourage them to participate, to provide that information. We put together the plan, and then we have the accountability side. Where are we at with each step of the way as we do this? And I understand councils change from year to year because of elections, but it's having that plan in place that we can move forward with, no matter who's in office, no matter what employees we have in place, that our community knows we're still going to move forward with that plan. So overall, everyone says yes. We do need a strategic plan. Further discussion in regards to the consultant side of it. This wouldn't, like I said, be someone who would come in and just do it all for us and give us a copy. This would just be able to provide the guidance to make sure that we properly structure it, and then the guidance on how we execute it. The city of Salinas has a wonderful dashboard that shows their residents literally what plan, goals, and everything that came out from that strategic plan, the years that they're supposed to be accomplished. And then it basically tells them where they're at. If there's a little red mark in their structure, that means it's stopped or something has happened, and then it explains why. So it keeps the residents informed as well. I think that's a very valuable tool, especially as we start to become more digital, when we start to get that information out there and the public has access without having to constantly pick up the phone.
I want to make a comment to the council. I've been working with the town of Salinas, which is a suburb of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. They're about our size, at their strategic plan. And it's online. It's really neat to look at. Megan has been in touch with the individual who helped write that plan for the city, as I have been. And I would suggest any of y'all to go online and look it up. It is really, really sharp. And that's kind of what we would be working towards for the same thing.
The next question, this was the oddball question. Should the city implement a private-public partnership policy? So one of the things that has been discussed with the city managers and finance is thinking outside the box. Because taxes aren't our single source of revenue, and in making sure we have other available sources, private-public partnerships have become an item of discussion. You will see these mostly in larger cities. These are used at the state level as well. There was a little bit of need to discuss, and then the mayor responded with no. So basically this policy allows for, and it's a little complex, and that's the hardest part of this. It's a very complex thing, but if it's executed, it does help the city. So basically you have a partnership with a private corporation or a private individual, specifically to assist with structures, infrastructure. So say, and this was an item of discussion in 2018-19 with doing a private-public partnership for a convention center. So a private partner would come in and utilize our land, build a facility, and then we would either lease it from them, we would manage it from them. It's kind of it's a back and forth. There would be a set parameters as far as who was responsible for what. There's a lot of checks and balances with it, and you'll hear a lot of pros and cons with it. This is something that some of the larger cities utilize a lot, especially when they want to put in a new sporting complex. You do have the availability to discuss issues with taxes. Do they pay full taxes? You have sales tax rebates that can be offered. It really just gets all outlined in the policy. I know the mayor has done some research on it, and I've done some research on it. I would like to provide a little bit more information to the council so that you can see the pros and cons with it. I wanted to put it out there because I think it's important we do look at all of our possibilities. We are rurally located. We don't have a lot of big corporations that are publicly made themselves out here. I mean, we do know we have them here, and it would be partnering with them. Typically, you have to take into consideration how much benefit will the city get and how much benefit will the private partner get. Private partners, bottom line is they want to make money. That is something that's important to them. We just want to ensure that we're receiving, or we're getting a facility, or we're getting infrastructure improvements, and that it's in the best interest of the city. So this was one of those questions that had been brought up, and it's been discussion. I did reach out to TML to kind of get a little bit more feedback. Is this something typical of a city our size? Not a direct answer. It's an option. It's like, no, it's not typical of a smaller city. But they did provide additional reading material to see how other entities have been handling it. Houston does have it. Austin does have them. San Antonio does have them as well. So I wanted just to get this out there so that if this does become an option, this would be a policy that would have to be put together and then of course approved by council. And we would definitely want to have as many attorneys as possible to look at it so that there wasn't something that caught us up and got us in trouble. Any questions?
As long as you read it, just tell me what it says. Sounds very long.
For my current thought process, this isn't something the city should take on at this moment. You would definitely have to have the ability to manage this. They're not simple contracts.
And I doubt that we could get somebody to want to come out here.
It would be hard with this. But it's an option being presented.
Another way that some cities, smaller cities deal with situations like that, if a private company wanted to come in and make a big investment, the city could work with the county to try to work in a tax abatement agreement. So maybe somebody could build a big facility of some kind and not be privately owned, but they might not pay taxes on it for a period of 10 years or whatever might be agreed. And that could be a different way to incentivize them to come in and put their private capital to work. So that's sort of a different flavor of what Megan's talking about, but it's a much simpler way to deal with it because it's not a management contract situation.
Don't we kind of have something like this with the post office?
Kind of,
Kind of.
yes. We do benefit the most from it.
I know that, but it's kind of a public-private arrangement that we have with them.
So they lease the land, they built it, and then they pay us a monthly fee for it.
Our biggest benefit is that from the lease is over, we own it.
Yes.
Yeah. We could put an annex over there.
The next question was, should the city consider in-kind contributions over monetary? For example, with the Alpine Public Library, Family Crisis, and Children's Advocacy. This is another thinking outside the box revenue idea or concept. We currently mail out our utility invoices every month. So one of the options that ran through my head was, all of these entities are looking for ways to provide or information to the public or request funds from the public. And one of the most expensive things right now is postage keeps going up, is being able to do this in bulk. So if the city council wanted to, we could ideally, instead of offering that cash sum every month, we provide some in-kind services. So just recently in June, we sent out the utility bills and included a public flyer for the library, encouraging the public to help assist them with funding. We literally can do this for any of the agencies we currently help. It would reduce some of their internal costs. It's something we are already currently doing, so there's not the real additional expense to us. But it would reduce how we budget the money side. The Family Crisis Center does have a contract with us. So of course we would want to ensure that we kept to the contract until it expired, which is the end of this upcoming or next fiscal year. The Alpine Public Library also has a contract with us, which is annually, and the Children's Advocacy, we currently just provide them a short, it's $5,000 a year. We don't have a formal contract with them. But I really feel like there may be other services we could provide that we just haven't sat down and had that conversation with them. So it is always easier to just cut the check and hand it over. But there may be a way that instead of cutting that check, we help them with the things that they actually need, whether it be sending out flyers, some form of advertising. It's really just sitting down and seeing what they need, because they may not need that. But I really wanted to get this out and have a discussion about it as we go into the budget process and look at ways, okay, how do we better serve our community and still stick within a reasonable cost and revenue base. So the next one, of course, it's been included in all of our, or this is the second one, but it's included in most of the budget questionnaires. Should the city provide a cost of living increase for the employees? So I left it open from 0 to 4%, so that there was some options. The majority of you guys agreed to 4%. So in the salary matrix that will be presented, it will include a 4%. To start off with, to see where we're at with the expenses and if our revenue can handle it, or if we'll need to make cuts, and then maybe we go down to 3%. The reason why this question was really important is I really want to start structuring our pay for employees so that employees can see where they can move in their positions. So this year you'll see a presentation that includes the position and where they're starting at, the cost of living, a merit increase, and then a possible promotion increase, and then the ending result. This allows employees to see that if I get hired for a certain amount, when I move up, if I do an excellent job or I get promoted, they automatically know what direction they're going. And it's not a, well, I'm gonna have that conversation with, okay, well, this one's gonna get this much and this one's gonna get this much. It's just a really clear understanding for all employees. It will also help directors and managers, because this is what we'll have budgeted. In the past, it's been unfortunate that it's a pot of money. And so I'm going to give this individual $3, but I'm going to give this individual a quarter. And so it kind of takes away that and makes it very structured, so that all employees know that they have the opportunity. For one thing, it is hard for some of our employees to understand, you know, everyone has the opportunity, but we want to make sure it's in the budget. This structures it so every employee knows what's in the budget for themselves and gives them the opportunity to strive to reach for it. But it's also the understanding that with promotions come additional responsibilities, and understanding that, you know, if I'm going to be promoted, I have a whole new set, but that doesn't mean I automatically start over. For that fiscal year, you would for the following fiscal year. So as we start working on or we've been working on our employee handbook, this is to start that structure to put it into our employee handbook. The big or the important thing that needs to be noted is this is all council approved. This is a expense, I'm sorry. And we want to make sure that it is included in our budget. Our current policy says if it is allowed or budgeted for, this would make it a little bit more specific and a clear understanding for each employee. One of the items as discussed in previous council meetings is the importance to start developing an employee benefit package. I provided a list of items to 10 to rank from 1 being the most important and 10 being the least important. And then I average out the responses. So some of them you'll see that there's not 10 items. Some of them ranked together at the same level. So what was considered the most priority for this upcoming fiscal year is the continuation of our task, which is our HRA program. This is an additional benefit that we provide to employees. Currently this year, we provided an additional $500 that it's kind of like a little debit card that they can use to go pay for doctor's visits. They can use for prescriptions, and there's a whole long list of authorized medical items up into Band-Aids. This was to help alleviate or relieve some of that additional expense. We try to encourage our employees to utilize our health. We do have a slightly more preventative program so that we can encourage them, get your monthly appointments, get your yearly annuals. We do want our employees to be healthy. The second item that was considered important was employee appreciation and pay. So this one actually fell under the category of other. And this is where council members had written out what they thought was important. So employee appreciation and pay. The third was assistance with health insurance after retirement, disability insurance, and mental health hours. The fourth is childcare assistance, work uniform package, which would include shirts, pants, jacket, work boots for field positions, and additional or enhanced training and development classes. Fifth was a wellness resource or gym membership. And then the last was the work from home and flexible hours. So as we work and look at the budget and our employee handbook, it's good to understand what we need to properly budget for. Some of these aren't necessarily monetary things we need to have in the budget. Task would be one of them. We want to ensure that we can cover that additional expense. Employee appreciation, we currently do budget for employee appreciation. We try to have this past year, we've tried to have 2 events to really just bring them out there, and then little things that we do throughout the year. All departments have access to it as long as, of course, there's money. And also we want to ensure that we can get the 2 big events taken care of. We've utilized it for the cups over Christmas, a Christmas party, anything and everything that gets presented. And of course, with the health insurance, that one would be an impact. I will have our current broker here next meeting to discuss our health insurance. So this is something that will be further discussed and where we're at. We currently provide no assistance outside of retirement. So when you retire, that's it. You get your retirement check from the city, well, from TMRS. But there's no other benefits. We do not offer disability. One of the big things that has been at all the trainings and conferences I've attended lately has been the mental health. This has become a huge impact on several cities. So one of the things I would like to start implementing and approve with council is mental health hours. This would be in addition to your vacation, your sick leave. This would be the opportunity, and it would be structured, of course, but for counseling, things that are needed to help you, have that moment of mental health.
PD needs that also. I know Daryl knows that.
So we do have a policy in place currently. That one was mandated by state legislation. That one wasn't an option. I know that they do have a very stressful job, and there's times when they definitely need to decompress. I do want to encourage that all our employees take advantage of that and offering them a little bit of time. They're not utilizing their sick leave, their vacation. This is specifically for them, and it would be structured. Childcare assistance is hard. We don't really have that available in Alpine. I know Sol Ross and the Texas Workforce and other agencies. There's the Alpine nonprofit, Alpine Community Development. Ivy Branch just started it.
Alpine Community Projects.
There you go, Alpine Community Projects. It's on their task list. I think their task list is like 100 different things.
It's long.
Yeah, so there's a lot of interested groups. The workforce does have assistance currently, and so we're trying to field their available funds to the people who can move forward with these projects. The gym membership, that was actually one of those that people just threw out there when I was discussing with employees. So thought it was something we should add in here. And of course, the work from home. That is really hard. I'm pretty sure all of Keith Seeger's department would love to work from home. Not gonna happen. One too many water leaks. So it was at the bottom of your list. Any questions?
Megan, I just want you to clarify, when you say that an employee retires from the city and they get their check, there's no health insurance coverage for them, correct?
Correct. The only health insurance that they would have access to is if they were old enough to receive Medicaid and Medicare. I always get them backwards. So
Medicare,
typically for an
Medicare.
employee to retire and to have some type of coverage, they would have to be at least 62.
So when they're working, there is assistance to the insurance, right?
So when they're, yes, when they work for us, we fully cover their health insurance.
Oh, covered in full?
Yes. We currently cover the employee 100%, and we cover part of the dependent coverage for those who have dependents on the insurance.
Right after you retire, you pay full price.
Thank you for your service.
I'll tell you right now, it's not that many, it's not as much as you would think it would be, because I thought it was billions of dollars at the county, and it's not. It isn't.
You can buy in the open marketplace.
Mine's paid for the rest of my life because I work down there, and it isn't. It's like they pay like. Now I don't want to spit it out there because I don't remember what they told me, but I thought it would be this ungodly amount of money. But about the time it gets high, people die and they're off of it. Does that make sense? And so my question was, okay, do we all wait till somebody dies and I go, I'm next, I can retire now? I mean, you know, I didn't understand the concept of, no, they get a group rate on it, on the actual insurance for the elderly like me, which is good. So you would be able to access all that.
And so these are things that are definitely, I would like to discuss if council went that direction, and understanding. So we know when employees are eligible to retire. We are provided all of that data on a regular basis. Because we want to ensure that they reach out to TMRS and understand if they retire, what are their monthly benefits, what options do they have? There's multiple options. They can take a lump sum, they can have it paid out, they can have it paid out, and then a certain percent go to those who inherit if something happens to them. But we want them to fully understand. So we know on a day-to-day basis who's coming up for retirement. You don't see as many of our employees retire because they do want to hold out until they can get their Medicaid, Medicare, and that they have that coverage, and then they retire. We do have a few younger ones who are coming up on the eligible for retirement who have decided to move forward with it. Health insurance isn't really their concern. They'd love to have it.
Right.
I mean, they would love to, but we don't offer it. So we would know from year to year if we were to be adding people to insurance, or even if it's just a portion of, you know, maybe we cover 50%, 60%.
I think though the county, if I'd gone and gotten another job with insurance, they would have the option then to take me off because I was covered by somebody else. So if somebody leaves here at 45 and gets a job with insurance and you've had them on it for 2 months, you're able to drop them now.
Yes.
It just carries them in that interim.
And that's the same when you get full insurance from a company and then you get your Medicaid, Medicare, Medicaid, Medicare becomes primary, and the other one becomes secondary. But something to think about. The city is currently working on a rate study for the water and wastewater. If necessary, will council support a rate increase for both services? We've talked about this one a lot, so I really wanted it out there so everyone could see. It is gonna happen. In November, we should have some numbers coming back from Communities Unlimited, who's helping us. So everyone is pretty much across the board with yes. I think that whatever is presented definitely needs to be discussed, which would definitely be a maybe, because you don't know from one day to the next. Are they gonna say we need to raise everyone, $100 a month? Or are they gonna have it where it's structured so that we could, implement a little every year? So I definitely think that the council is on board. When this presentation comes back before council for that rate study and the suggested increases, definitely need to have a discussion. We don't want to have a sticker shock on our residents, but we definitely don't want to keep struggling with our infrastructure. Would you support the partial allocation on airport fuel prices to be dedicated and moved to reserve fund to cover airport improvements? If yes, what % or dollar amount? So this one is really important. This week, we will be cutting a $95,000 check to TxDOT Aviation for the start of the construction side of the lighting project. This is only 10% of the full project. So this is a really great deal for the city. Unfortunately, the money wasn't properly put aside or planned for. So the city allocated themselves to this grant. This is a really important project. But that 95,000 is a big hit for a department who is suffering. And I pick on Able every month during the finance report. Their expenses far exceed their revenue. This thought process was, and this had been in discussions prior when they raised the actual increase of the fuel, but did not get passed at the time, putting a little bit aside. It would go into a reserve account and we would put that little bit of money aside so that as we obligate ourselves to these big grant projects, which we have several more down the road, that the money would be there and this wouldn't be an operation expense. This wouldn't be something that we're budgeting for. This would be something coming back to council saying we're moving it from reserves to cover this cost. So I wanted to put that out there because they do have a lot of projects. Our airport is utilized by a lot of our community. I know I order Amazon on a regular basis. It all comes into our airport. So this one was important. The consensus was yes, we should do something. We have between 10 and 30%. So when you look at the budget and I present the expenses and the revenue, I'm going to start off with a 20%. What would that cost? Because this is 20% of the revenue that's going to another account. So it's also understanding this is that one we struggle with, but maybe Abel and I can work it out where we take a few, I don't want to say hits or step backs, but we don't purchase as much on the front.
But the airport is already always under budgeted. I mean, so we're looking at adding more money when that money that we add is just basically should be added just to keep them afloat, because every year we budget way below what the airport needs. So I mean, he needs operating money just to begin with without even taking into account adding
Yes.
this.
So one of the things that we would also look at is the cost of fuel and what we're currently charging. Abel, have you had complaints about what people are paying?
In fact, more people have been saying, what's your price at? And then they'll say, oh, go ahead and fill it up.
No, I mean, people are going to use it. I'm just saying before we go up and try to
Well, this would be
allot money somewhere else. I mean, he needs help just getting through every year.
But we also have to be able to make sure we can pay for the obligations we've already established.
I understand that, but it's just.
And maybe we don't start off with 20, maybe we go lower. I was looking at an average.
Yeah, I just feel like we're stretching our dollar further than it's already stretched. And at one point it's going to snap. I mean.
And you are correct.
It just sounds great to add all these other things and to want all these things, but I guess my main question is where is this money coming from just to even keep afloat? This year we ran into our reserve funds. What are we going to be doing next year? We can't keep going and dipping into savings.
You're correct.
I mean, all of us know that we cannot live on credit cards alone. I mean, eventually it catches up to us. And that's what we are doing. I feel like we're just going further into debt, further in the hole.
And that's where fees and taxes need to be raised or services need to be cut.
Yeah, I understand that, but we also can't hit our citizens with a tax raise and with increasing the rates for utilities. And I mean, we're all getting hit hard right now. I mean, just to get by, our groceries are higher, to put gas in our vehicles is higher. And I just don't want to make it to where we're hitting our citizens with everything. Increase in utilities, tax increase, everything. I mean, if anything, I think we need to be looking at what we need to be cutting.
And we can do that as well. And that's why we have these budget meetings, so that we can go through and look at the pros and cons. Would you support the purchase of equipment and hiring of staff to bring paving back into the city and reduce the funds being utilized to contract out? And everyone was in agreement. We do have estimates and they are part of the CIP, which we'll send it next meeting as draft. What it would take, whether it be purchasing all new equipment, leasing equipment, maybe 2 or 3 pieces. Eddie has indicated that he would like more staffing, not only to handle his current day-to-day, but to be able to take this paving back in-house. That way we're not going through the whole process of RFPs and contracting, and it would all just be done in-house. And that was the last one. Any questions, comments?
Do you have a schedule for budget preparation?
I do. I will forward it to you. It was presented, I believe, in April.
Because we have what, just a little over 60 days before you have to provide us with the budget, right, for the proposed budget?
Yes.
And
Is that
do you have anything included for citywide,
for numbers?
for people to come in and give their?
Oh, yes, we've got that also.
Anything else? All right, I adjourn the workshop and call to order the regular meeting. City Secretary, do we have a quorum?
Yes, we do. All members are present, excluding Councilor Tandy. The notice of this meeting was posted by 2 p.m. on June 3rd.
Thank you. Any public comments?
No.
Okay. So we're going to move on to presentations, recognitions, and proclamations. And I have a proclamation honoring the victims of the Uvalde, Texas shooting. Whereas the city of Uvalde, the state of Texas, and the nation at large have suffered a crippling blow due to the recent Robb Elementary School shooting in Uvalde, Texas, where a gunman senselessly opened fire on students and staff. And whereas the city council of the city of Alpine and our community agree with others around the country in the wake of the reprehensible shooting, especially the community of Uvalde, for the loss of the 19 children and 2 educators. And whereas the city also recognizes the families, friends, and community members who will forever be affected by the events that occurred on May 24th, 2022. And whereas at this critical time, we must resist the impulse to let this tragedy divide us and instead unite to find a way to bring justice and peace together. And whereas the city honors the victims of the tragedy in Uvalde, Texas, and stands in solidarity with the victims, families, survivors, and the community of the Uvalde, Texas. Now therefore, I, Catherine Eves, Mayor of the city of Alpine, Texas, on behalf of the community, do hereby recognize June 5th, 2022 to June 11th, 2022 as Uvalde Strong Week in Alpine, Texas, and urge the community to honor the victims of this terrible tragedy and to stand in solidarity with the community of Uvalde, Texas. The witness there wherefore of I have hereunto set my hand this 7th day of June in the year 2022. And now may we take a moment of silence. Thank you. Okay, now we'll move on to the city mayor report. I wanted to mention that I attended the hotel occupancy tax workshop with Chris Ruggia this week, and I wanted to make sure everybody's aware that the application is still available online. What you do is you go to the City of Alpine website and choose the How Do I, and the application will be there, along with information about what you need to do in order to be eligible to apply for that. Also, I wanted to mention that the swimming pool is now open. The Public Works Department had a monumental task to get the pool up and running and ready for the citizens of Alpine. There were some bumps along the way with the chlorinator misbehaving. We were having troubles calibrating it, but we got it done and it was opened. Also, I went to a Rio Grande Council of Governments grant workshop last week. And the Rio Grande Council of Governments, for those of you who may not know, is a coalition of several counties, 7 of them to be exact, including Brewster and also Jeff Davis and Presidio. And they are applying for a block grant. Hopefully that will go through. And what they wanted to know at this workshop is what each of the communities needed, what they wanted to do with money, should they be allocated some. And what struck me as interesting is that every single one of them said infrastructure. So infrastructure is a problem everywhere, not just in Alpine. I've had a meet with the mayor opportunity this past Thursday at Magoo's, where citizens could come in and I listened to their concerns and their ideas and their thoughts. And there will be another one on the 9th from 5 to 6 in the library community room. I would love to see everybody come out and just sit and talk about what we need to do. We have some tough choices moving ahead as a city. We have things that we need to take care of, and we need to figure out how we're going to fund or what we're going to cut. And we have some tough decisions to make. I would like everybody to communicate and to actually participate in this process. All right, City Attorney.
Yes, Mayor and Council. Matters the see here. I've been asked to look at the law on annexation because we've gotten an application from a property owner to be annexed into the city. And this was some property out a little bit past where the new high school is being built. And the city of Alpine in the past has sort of, I don't know, checkerboard is the right word, but there's several pockets of county land and then city land and then county land and city land. And I think in the old days, the county and the city didn't think that much about it because in the old days, the city could annex that property when the city wanted to. So when the city felt like doing it, they could go in and annex it, whether the people wanted to be annexed or not. Well, if y'all haven't noticed, the Texas legislature is not the best friend of Texas cities. And they frequently pass laws that keep restricting the ability of cities to do things. And they've passed laws that now say cities cannot annex property with the 2 exceptions. One, the property owner consents. So 100% of the property owner has to consent if you want to annex it. So in this particular instance, we have one property owner that says, I want to be annexed, and that property can be annexed. The second way to do it is a lot more complex, and it requires hearings and a vote of where a majority of the property owners and a majority of the voters in an area have to get together and request to be annexed. And then there have to be hearings and notices, and people have to be notified and all. And it's a pretty long, complex process that still requires the consent of the majority of the people there. So the quick answer on Alpine annexing more property is it's very hard, and it's basically it's going to be subject to consent of the people that want to be annexed. So the one property that Megan and I were dealing with can be annexed because they asked for it. So that's sort of the Texas law regarding municipal annexation in a nutshell. The municipal court, we've gone through and we've dismissed all the real old cases, some of them going back 10, 12 years, and got the docket cleaned up. So we'll be able to continue to move forward with the municipal court using our new procedures that have been set up there, and our new policies of having court twice a month, and being able to be timely and work with the police and try to be active to take care of the citations, but also be responsive to people in the community. So that's my update today. Any questions?
This request for annexation that we have in this little folder, does that need to be on the next meeting agenda? Or do we need to vote on that, or is it?
It will. There's going to be a whole process with public hearings. And
Okay.
It needs to be approved by ordinance.
So there's still a process even with the requesting, but it's the smallest process there is.
We can't just say thank you and move forward.
No, they don't let us anymore.
Okay,
So
thank you.
does an
thank you.
annexation, does it go through P and Z too?
Straight to that.
Anything else?
No, Mayor.
Thank you. All right, city manager.
So I actually did not prepare a slideshow.
Oh,
my gosh. Thank you,
With
man.
with the budget coming, things are gonna get longer, and we do have our staff reporting more often. I just wanted to follow up, of course, with Catherine. Comment with the pool. The pool is open. It is a fresh water. It is very nice out there. We've had a full house most days. Of course, the only time we're really closed is staffing, and if, of course, the weather. I do apologize to residents if it rains. I will take the rain any day, even if it closes our pool. And the other one that I really wanted to get out there, if the citizens haven't seen or kind of noticed, we are paving, we are seal coating. I did receive a friendly email from the Alpine Country Club Estates. Thank us for getting started. It has been years out there. I know this was one of Jerry's priorities for this year, so it's good to see them on track again. So Jared started off at the Hancock section. I did in that last paving season with informing several residents in that area that we would start there. They had some pretty bad areas, and then we went out to the country club. Once Jared's done, he'll move back into town, and then of course the taxiway. If you notice Eddie's crew, he is filling in potholes, and he has also been out on the southwest side of town. They've pulled up a few roads to start seal coating those and getting those taken care of. So if you're out there and you see them, please give them a fresh, cold bottle of water. It is supposed to be really hot this next couple weeks. I know that this time last year, I brought the same presentation or same thought process, but you know, we've got to do our due diligence, make sure we stay hydrated, stay out of it, not only for our employees, but for our residents, for our animals as well. So that is it.
Do we have a map available for the citizens to know where we're going to be?
Yes, so we are working on that. We are trying to get it so that it can be uploaded to our website, but we don't want it editable. We don't want them to move the little dots around and create pictures. So we've been working on that, and we'll have that hopefully ready within the next week.
Thank you.
And it'll go on the website. So it'll kind of show you where we're at with all the paving and where we've been.
All right. City staff updates. Jennifer.
I do have slides.
Okay.
All good.
Yes.
Alrighty, so this is my quarterly report for this January, February, and March of this year. We're a little bit behind, but Megan's got us on a schedule, so hopefully as the reports, as I start visiting you more often, my reports will kind of seem to be more, in line with what's happening right now. So bear with me. So this is just what's happened in the first quarter. So our stray intakes, this is not including our feral cat populations that have come through the shelter. We had 57 animals come in, 19 cats and 38 dogs. Most of our cats came from wards 5 and 2, and most of our dogs came from wards 2 and 4. Slide. Out of the 57 animals that did come in, we had 30 returned to owners. So 3 of the 19 cats were returned and 27 of the 38 dogs were returned. Feral cat intakes. There was 30 total feral cats brought into the shelter. Most of them were from wards 3 and ward 4. Ward 4 was that of the highest intakes. And these feral cats, if I'm sure I've said this before to y'all, but are caught in live traps. So they're just removed from the property. And typically put down if they're not adoptable. So that's why I distinguish between feral and adoptable cats. Next. Surrenders. So we had 13 total surrenders, 4 cats and 9 dogs. Other intakes. Unfortunately, we had 3 kittens and 7 puppies born in the shelter. We don't want this to happen. These are actually pictures of our litters that were born here. So strongly encourage every time I come in here, spay and neuter your pets. There's programs out there. Reach out to me. I will get you in touch with them. We don't want animals born in a shelter. Luckily, most all of these were either adopted out or went to other rescues and are probably already in their new homes, but we had plenty already. So that's my spiel on that. 3 dogs were brought in for quarantine. 2 dogs were brought in due to owner arrest. 1 puppy was actually brought in due to a car accident. As you all probably recall, at the beginning of the year, there was one out by the Y, and there was a puppy in that vehicle. He came in and was perfectly fine, unbelievably. And then the owner came in about a week later, miraculously, with his mother and picked the dog up. So it was a happy ending for us too, because we like to see the happy endings. So let's see. Oh, and also 19 chickens and 4 dogs were brought into an owner medical emergency. Those animals ended up not going back to the owner. They had to go somewhere else. So adoptions, we had 29 adoptions, 15 cats and 14 dogs. There's some of our successful pictures there. Transports, we had 21 animals total transported to other organizations, 16 cats and 5 dogs. We have to do this because we don't get them out just with adoptions. So you can kind of see, and you'll see over the years of my presentations, is it's usually about 50-50 now with the transports. Other outcomes, there was a kitten that died due to an illness, a kitten and a young cat and adult that also had to be euthanized due to illness. So we do also have those negative outcomes, unfortunately. End of the month shelter counts. We started out in January with 33 animals and then skyrocketed to 63 animals. That's a huge hit in 3 months. So that included the 19 chickens, of course. So that, yeah. Microchips, we placed 12 microchips for the public. 8 of them were cats and 4 of them were dogs. Our animal bites, we had 5 total bites in the first quarter, most occurring in Ward 2. Most of the animal bites were either animal on animal or provoked incident. Citations issued, we had 14 total citations issued, 7 running at large, 4 no license, 1 no rabies vaccine, 1 public nuisance, and 1 failure to register dangerous dog. I'm flying through this time, aren't I? Okay. PSAs, I try and do a new PSA every month. They're posted on the city websites and also on our Facebook pages. Encourage the public to check those out. I did January was all about deer and our population of deer and how to deal with those and our ordinances and all that. February was microchipping, and March was fleas and ticks. So just some great information there. If they're not directly on the front city webpage, you can go to Animal Services and they are all listed there as well. So you can't lose them. Let's see here. Okay, so pet food pantry. Actually, we have a pet food pantry. If you don't know about it, it's actually located at the Alpine Humane Society thrift store. We had 2 rather large donations come in. One was the porters, when they closed down, everything that they couldn't get rid of on their shelves actually came to us. So it was really cool to receive that, a pleasant surprise, and that helped our community. We also got several bags from the West Texas Food Bank. It's a program through, I believe it's PetSmart. So there was probably 30 or 40 bags of each cat and dog food that we're still picking away at. So there's plenty of food out there if you ran into a hard time and just need some pet food to keep going with your pet and not surrender it. We encourage you to go visit our food pet pantry. Pet food pantry. Food pet pantry. Yeah. So we want to thank Porters and the West Texas Food Bank for doing that for our community. It was amazing. So any questions for us?
I have one question.
Yes.
Would it be beneficial, and I don't know if there's a way, you could include the PSAs in some of our utility bills, our gas and water bills, maybe a little thing on the bottom encouraging donations to the animal shelter?
I think that's an excellent idea. Most definitely.
Nothing against the website, but I'm not
Yeah,
a
I know.
website kind of guy.
Yeah,
But
I
we
think
did a PSA for the library.
Yeah.
And it was really nice, and I read it, and I am a friend of the library, but that doesn't really matter one way or another. But
Right.
I think it would be good if we could do it.
Job application too.
Yeah, job applications. We are, I don't know if y'all have seen that. We are running on fumes. Yeah, we're running on fumes right now. We have several job openings for animal services officers as well as shelter workers. So putting the word out there, get those applications in, because we're ready to see some new people in our building for some help. So.
Well, Grand Companions does a nice thing on their emails or whatever you call them. Who's home and who's available, and they have the little, I don't know where they come up with all the names, but it's amazing. I don't know if y'all have ever seen it, but they have little pictures of the dogs and cats. And then the bottom of it is who's has a home now, and they do a neat job with that.
Yeah, those are very nice. Yeah, if we had more staffing, we may be able to do
Well, I'm
something
not
like that. Right?
You're not offering to do that.
No, I think it is eventually, if we can get to a spot where we have full staffing, we might be able to branch out and do some of those extra things. I think that those are, they shouldn't cost much if you're doing something like that, emails and such, to just, get the word out of what we're doing.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great idea.
I do too.
Yeah. Anything else? All right.
All right,
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Very
Thank you.
good, very good. Okay, Heather.
Hello.
Hi.
As Jennifer said, it's been a while since I presented to you guys too. The last time I talked to you was in January. So I'm not going to go over like all the numbers from every month because it doesn't really, I don't think, mean a lot to anybody. I'd rather show you guys what we're doing. But I did want to start with March numbers simply because that is spring break. So that is always our busiest time of the year. So March of this year, the actual number of visitors that signed into the visitor center was 598 people. So that's a lot. Last year it was 269, but last year we were closed for 2 months with only, or 2 weeks of March with only stuff on the porch because my mother actually passed away and we didn't have anyone else to cover it. So I was gone. And then March of 2020, we don't have numbers for because of COVID. So it's kind of hard to compare one spring break to another, but we do know that we got to see a lot of people this March. And we were also able for 4 weeks of that time to open on Mondays during that time. So we were open 6 days a week instead of just the 5. And of course, that was also why we were still under construction. We were hoping to have it done by spring break, but that did not happen. But we were still able to serve everyone. We just didn't have the bathrooms finished by then. But that goes on to the next thing I want to talk about, which is the visitor center addition. So the visitor center addition is complete. This gives you a look at kind of some of the different spaces. This first slide, you can see we've got the patio area in the back that leads to the restrooms. We have the new pavilion over there in the, what would that be? I'm terrible with directions, sorry. Southeast corner? Yeah, I guess. And then the porch where we didn't actually do anything. We just did some beautification stuff there. If you go into the next slide. So as you guys know, this project was approved in April of 2021. It was started, they actually started the dirt work and stuff. That started in October of 2021, but they held off really getting too deep into that until after we were done with the mercantile in November. So it really ramped up then. And then it was completed in April of 2022. We actually had the building inspector come the first week of April. So it was not too long on the construction process. We were afraid it might end up being longer because we were waiting on metal from Mueller Building. Like everyone, supplies right now are hard. So we were pleasantly surprised when it showed up sooner than it was supposed to. And that pavilion went up really quick once they did get it. So this is just some of the pictures along the way. It was all done in different phases. We paid out construction in different phases throughout the process. Total cost was around $280,000. I think money well spent. We have a prime location at that building. So to maintain the existing infrastructure is important there. You can't beat the parking space that we have. And now to have a space where we can utilize the yard and offer public restrooms. We know that those are a commodity in Alpine. So it's nice that we have those now. So moving on, once the pavilion was done, we started having requests immediately for people to have stuff there, which is exactly what we want. It is available for use for public events, but there's some kind of, I want to say rules, and they have to meet some criteria. We have to have, they have to promote tourism or provide entertainment to tourists. Now, that does not mean that people can't just come and sit and have their lunch there anytime they want. Somebody can sit there and play music any day of the week. But if we're actually saying like we're having something there, it needs to tie back into tourism. And you guys will be getting an ordinance on that as soon as I'm back to my full-time status, because I am still not back to work fully because my baby's 7 weeks old today. So you'll be getting an ordinance though on the use of the pavilion. But the first thing we did was International Beer Day. Chisos came out, gave away samples. They took donations to help with the Fiesta 1888 project that's coming up in August on Murphy Street. So that was a lot of fun. Next thing we had was the community band concert. I know that was like right whenever I first went on maternity leave, so I missed this. Anything going forward, I've borrowed pictures from people, but the community band concert was well attended, as you can see. It was really nice. They played under the pavilion and people sat on the porch and in the yard and listened. Next thing that was there was the Alpine Downtown Association asked for use of it for a new thing they had. They had a mixer between businesses and nonprofits. I know you spoke, Mayor. So that was well attended out there. And that's a perfect example of where we don't have to be open and people can still utilize the space because the way it's set up, our building doesn't have to be open anymore with the bathrooms that are available in back. And then the other thing that's been there was actually the music circle. So this is a group of local musicians that any musician is welcome to join them. Music is musicians under the stars in the circle. We are a music friendly city. So anything that involves music, we are happy to host. And they actually moved out into the yard when it got dark because they like to play under the stars. So it was very nice. People, they said they didn't have a lot of people that came and listened, but they had some more people that joined, and they're going to do a monthly one there again coming up. We have actually the Bluegrass Jam is there this weekend because of the festival going on in the park. So the Bluegrass Association is going to be at the pavilion on Saturday, and then the next weekend, the next Saturday evening, will be the Musicians Under the Stars again. So does anybody have any questions about use of the pavilion or about the renovation and the addition?
I do, Heather. Do they book the pavilion here at the city as they do the civic center, or do they?
No,
go
they
through
call
you?
us because we do have to make sure that it meets those kind of the within the guidelines of use. So they can call the visitor center. And then if we're basically right now, because we don't have the ordinance in place, running it past Chris and Megan to make sure that we're okay to have it used for that. Because like we had somebody else use it for a wedding. It's not really for something like that, because that's not something that is for the public. Now we have the Daryl's going to help with it too. The Family Crisis Center wants to use it, and they're going to have entertainment and stuff for the kids. That's coming up in July. So that's something where it's going to be open to the public. It's kind of taking our mercantile that we were doing, where we were always the host of it, and letting it be more organic in that we're still holding those kind of events, but other people are now asking us to be the host of them. And we're letting them utilize our space and helping them with maybe the entertainment or, the games and different things like that we have available for use for them to use in the space.
And is there a fee?
No, that's why we can't rent it out for private use, because there isn't a fee, because it was paid for with hotel motel tax. So with the hotel motel tax, there isn't a fee for it. That's why it needs to relate back to like either promoting tourism or providing entertainment for
So as
tourists.
long as they meet the criteria, they don't have to be a nonprofit or anything. It's just.
No, this is private. The Musicians Under the Stars, they're not a nonprofit or anything like that. But again, we're a music friendly city. We want to encourage people to sit out and play and listen. And it's nice ambiance out there at the visitor center. So yeah, as long as they meet the criteria, it's fine. They just have to talk to us about it.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? All right, moving
People
on.
haven't been, haven't they ought to go down there. It's really,
Thank
really
you.
nice. It really is.
If you have any design work, let me know.
Yeah, I know, I know.
Earth Day was a big event that we partnered with Adelina with Keep Alpine Beautiful and Darren, I think he left, but Darren from Parks to put on a really nice event at Coconut Park. My plan was to be there for that, and I had my baby a week early and I missed it. So one of the things that there was a lot of stuff out at the park, but the visitor center part of it, we provided the music entertainment with the Doodle and Hog Wallops with promotion of the arts money. And then we did a painting project where we reused stuff. Since it was Earth Day, we used our old mercantile banners and kids painted on them stuff like Earth Day messages. And that was really nice. And then we had some games for kids. We had information out there. We get a lot of stuff from Keep Texas Beautiful and Take Care of Texas, like free stuff. So we had all that out there for kids, stickers and coloring books and stuff. And then we had Judy's Dark Skies project, the Dark Sky coloring books. She awarded the winners there, which was very nice. And then those are actually now all of the pictures are displayed in the visitor center, and we're distributing the coloring books. So if you haven't seen the artwork by the local high school artist, it is available to look at in the visitor center. And it was really good. The kids did an awesome job. And I think that we might have to get a reprint on the books, because I had tons of people take them already.
Good.
People like them. So awesome on that. So that was Earth Day. Another thing that we always try to go to the actual events, especially things that received hotel motel grants. So if an event received a hotel occupancy tax grant, we like to be there and have a presence. I was at Cowboy Poetry, was able to give people more information about Alpine, whether here. One of the things that Chris and I did for that specifically was we created a upcoming events brochure that was highlighting specific events that we thought people who are out in Cowboy Poetry would want to come back for. So like the Wine and Beef, the Spirits of the West, that was on there. We had Art Walk on there. We had the rodeos on there, both the upcoming rodeos. So those are things that we specifically wanted to make sure people who are at Cowboy Poetry knew our events they might enjoy to come back to Alpine for. Because of course, our goal is always to get them to come back again, not just provide information while they're here. But I mean, popular things are always the Historic Association, their tour from downtown, the mural tour, and then the restaurant guide are the things that I hand out the most when I'm at those kind of things. But was able to go to Cowboy Poetry. And then The other thing I just did, what is it now? I guess not this last weekend, the prior Memorial Day weekend was Spirits of the West, the Wine and Beef Fest. And this is a new event that, again, they received hotel occupancy tax grant to help with the promotion of the arts and the actual promotion of the event. And it was well attended. I was only there Saturday. I heard great reviews on Friday nights, a VIP event. And then it continued into Sunday, but I had my informational booth there. We had lots of music. Like I said, it was a new festival that I think is only going to grow. Pretty much feedback from all of the spirit companies and just the distilleries, the wineries, the brewery, everybody is saying they wanted to sign up for next year. So I think that that's something that we will probably see Art Walk continue to move forward with and make it a new Alpine tradition. So that's actually the end of my slideshow. Do you have any questions so far? No? So Gio and I, hopefully this works, right? So one of my goals this year was actually to find a new way to promote events in Alpine. So we actually partnered with Spirits of the West because they are a new event and they had some promotion money that we wanted to work with them to use. So we hired Conley Razor Creative, and we put together some promotional material that went out on Facebook, and then we put together a press kit that went to news stations. My background is actually, I have a degree in journalism, and I was a morning show news producer for 7 years. So one of the things that, like, I know that those are the morning shows are a place that's always looking for these kind of events and wants to promote them and talk about them. So that was kind of one of my ideas, was to try to target them and send them this stuff. And that's free. If you put together the press kit and you send it to them and they run it free advertising on news channels. And then Conley also was able to provide the footage for Art Walk to actually pay for their commercial spot, because we did a total of 2 days of, I did 2 days of shoots with them, just producing kind of in the background with Conley, and he has a cousin that works with him, Derek, and they did a wonderful job on these pieces. So I actually wanted to show them to you. This first one is going to be the longer news piece that we sent out to news channels with that they could just run in its entirety or use it however they wanted to. We sent them 2 shorter versions of the story that they could run as well, if you want to say that.
When you invent an event like this, you reach out to everybody that has anything to do with the vineyards, the spirit companies, chefs. We have lots of wonderful chefs out here.
I'm Mark Henshaw.
I'm Eden Henshaw, his wife.
And together we are Roux. We wanted to do something a little different. It's a Korean dish called bulgogi. It's Korean seasoned beef, marinated beef, sliced very, very thin. And then it is flash grilled. We're going to be serving it on a rice cracker with kimchi.
My name is Dylan McShann. We are here at the Martha Spirit Company, where I'm the chef. For Spirits of the West, we're going to be doing a mushroom ravioli.
We will have approximately 6 by 3 foot table with about 8 times 4 of these goodies that you see here.
Our approach to the Spirits of the West Wine and Beef Fest would be to offer tastings to the public, really educating the consumer on how Sotol is similar yet different to what they've had before.
We've got all of these assorted bottles on our bar that'll be available, but a really great representation of what we're able to grow in West Texas.
You can taste West Texas in the wine.
The beef producers are right around the corner. They're a ranch away.
Play any role in food sovereignty is huge. To make a community like this that has access to natural resources where we can feed ourselves, to be part of that chain where we can actually ensure that our community eats, that feels really good.
We finally get to highlight what's happening out here. We're slowly becoming a wine region. We've already been a beef region for many, many years, and people get to actually taste it now.
Come to this festival to really get an idea of where food and beverage in Texas is heading, and then get educated, try a bunch of new things that you've never seen or heard of before, and just come out here and make some friends.
Okay, that's the end of that one. So like I said, that was sent to news stations, and if you would have seen it running on a news channel, it would have had everybody's names on it. That was obviously some of our Alpine people, Carrie, And then we had Mark and Eden from Rue Alpine. The Marfa Meats was in there, Marfa Spirits Company, their chef, and their manager of food and beverage. And then the other people were Chateau Wright. That's their tasting room manager and their kind of promotional manager, James. So those were some of the people that we went and shot with. And that was the longer piece that we put together to help promote the event. And then the next three are just some of the shorter pieces that we ran on social media. And they're just kind of funny. We put together a total of 12 actually short little promo clips that ran all over social media.
I mean, here at Market Meats, we here at Market Meats, we take you from ranch to processing to your plate. Come see us at the Spirits of the West to learn more. But we're sorry.
Luckily, she was willing to laugh at herself. That's Christy Miller, the owner of Marfa Meats, who did a promo for us. I think the next one you probably have is, this is Marfa Spirits Company.
Hi, I'm Kate Nye. I'm the Director of Hospitality at the Marfa Spirit Company, and we're here inside of our distillery and tasting room in Marfa. And this is a bottle of our Chihuahuan Desert Sotol. It started in Chihuahua, in Janos, Mexico, and finished here in Marfa. And come out to the Spirits of the West Fest, where you can try this bottle and everything else that we make in Far West Texas.
And then the last one's my favorite. It's actually Mark and Eden from Rue.
They're gonna go down. Awesome.
They're gonna sing La magia de amor en mí, haz algo compré, ve y sí, me trae tu amor cerca a mí, la magia de carne.
The magic of meat.
So those are, like I said, just some social media promos that we did for this event. And that was something that we had never done before, where we worked with the promo company. We did a lot for this. If we do it in the future with other events, we wouldn't probably have to shoot quite as many or put together as many promo packages. The Razor Creative actually donated a big portion of their services in exchange for being a sponsor of the event. So that helped offset the cost. And then we, from our promotions budget, and then the promotions budget that the Spirits of the West had, split the rest of the cost on doing those. But again, it was a goal this year to try to, we all promote events here with the posters and stuff, but that isn't doing my goal of reaching people outside of Alpine with all the posters hanging in around town. So we wanted to try to do something different to promote this event. And I think, like I said, the event was successful. So hopefully we can target some other bigger events with hot funds that we can work with to do some more of these kind of video promos in the future. So. Do you have any questions?
I have one
Yes.
question. And this is probably on me. I didn't really know what was going on.
At the Spirits of the West?
I had the little bracelet.
Oh, okay.
And I went up to the Chateau Wright with my little drink card and was told I had to have a glass. So where do I get a glass?
Was that Friday night?
Yes.
I wasn't there. I don't know the rules either.
I don't either. And I had,
Megan was there. Megan knows the rules.
I had a couple
Megan
sitting
had
with
his
me.
glass.
Well, and then they told me there was a bag over here that you had to go get a bag. Inside the bag was another bag with a glass. And then you could come back.
There was a gift bag. They gave me a gift bag the next
So-
day. I don't remember. It had glasses in it. So maybe that's where you got it.
But it
But
would have been nice if we would have had a VIP sponsors
Mhm.
are entitled to.
Gotcha.
I sat with a couple who had one of the fired pizzas. And I didn't know what he was. So when he comes back, I said, well, how much did it cost? He said, oh, the first 25 were free. And I said, well, what number were you? And he said 2. So I went over there and got line to be number 3. But
Yeah.
I think there should have been something. I asked Megan what was going on. She's a little smarter than I am, but she was a little reluctant to
I think
explain.
they'll learn as they go with it. You know, kind
But I do
of
think there ought
what
to be
works and what
something.
different, what, yeah.
I mean, we paid, as a city, we were sponsors, VIP sponsors. And we should have known a little bit what was going on, or I should have. I don't have a whole lot of education, so I'm kind of.
Yeah, my understanding was the VIP event, everything was pretty much, you got your drinks and your food. That's where you had the samplings of the different chefs with food. And then Saturday, there was a smaller fee to get tastings, and then you could then buy food and wine and meat and things like that.
Right.
So, and that's how, and then Sunday was their traditional, just like they do during Art Walk, they do their Bloody Mary brunch. And that's all donation only for those, for that. And that all goes to their scholarship fund for Art Walk scholarship fund. And then they had the street festival part open again too. And I think that they got hit Friday night by some weather. So they're thinking like, you know, is there, and also like this, we have some Memorial Days that are beautiful. Of course, this one was a scorcher. Like it was so hot down there on Saturday. So, I mean, next year it could be freezing on Memorial Day, right? So you never know. So I think that they'll make adjustments as they go in planning the event. But as a whole, I think it was successful.
I'd make one other comment about your pavilion.
Mhm.
All of that was paid for by hot money.
Yes.
There was no money expended by the city of Alpine to do all the things that we saw in the pictures. It was all hot money.
Well, and that's where that workshop that we had was so important, explaining to people that hot funds cannot be used on city infrastructure.
Right.
It can be used on infrastructure from the visitor center who offers visitor services, but it cannot be used on any other city infrastructure. So when people say, well, you need to bring more tourists in and get more hot funds, there's so many rules about how hot funds can be spent that people don't understand. That's why we offer that workshop, and it is available, correct, Gio, online? People can watch it if they have questions. And that is the gentleman who provided the information for the workshop. He's the lawyer from the Hotel Lodging Association. So he answers all the questions about how it can be spent. And it was interesting in our hot funds workshop, there was actually a lot of questions about how the South County's hot funds are spent, and he answered those too. But it is different depending on if you're a city or a county, and we fall under different rules. So he really laid that out well for people, I think, to understand that hot funds has to meet the two biggest rules is getting tourists here and putting them in hotels. So
we were fortunate to have the president of the Big Bend Brewster County Tourism Council come in right.
Oh yeah, Bill. I know. I said his name and then he walked in. I was wondering if he was on Zoom. Bill Ivy did come and answer some of the questions for South County people too. So
But
that
they
was
do
helpful.
it totally differently than we do it.
They do, and they don't offer the grants that we do. And it's important for people to know that our grant, like Catherine said, it is open right now. Hot Fund grants are open until July 1st. So everyone who wants to plan an event needs to go on there and read the rules and see if they qualify. And if they want to apply, I would suggest they watch that workshop first to have some of their questions answered about how they can use the money, how it can be utilized. Because again, you can't use it to print your local posters that you're going to hang up all over Alpine. The money can't be used for that. So people need to understand where it can be used and where it can't. So, any other questions?
May I add one thing? We were a vendor there, and I just want the city council to be prepared because it's going to be bigger next year. We had people from Fredericksburg, Austin, Mason. The furthest away that was a vendor was actually Santa Fe with blankets and woven baskets. But every booth there was full. Friday night, place was packed. We didn't have that rainstorm. Everybody there grabbed a hold of one of those tents and held on for dear life. But it's going to be bigger next year. This is going to turn into possibly as bigger than the art wall. I believe that.
Agreed.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else?
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Heather. Thank you so much. All right, so let's move on to public hearings. The first one, public hearing to obtain citizen views and comments on the second and final reading of ordinance 2022-05-02, an ordinance amending chapter 10, animals, amending article 1 in general, amending article 4, dangerous animals, providing an updated dangerous dog determination process, and providing updated definitions. Do we have any comments? Okay, see none. Moving on to number 2, public hearing to obtain citizen views and comments on a large animal permit application, allowing the applicant Assergenson. I'm sorry.
Oscar Osterson.
Okay, Oscar Osterson. All right, thank you. to possess a horse, a mule, and a steer within the city limits. The property in question is located at 1603 Old Marathon Highway. Is anyone here to comment on that? Okay. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. City Secretary.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight, we have 3 items on the consent agenda. The first one being approval of May 17th, 2022 regular meeting minutes. Second one being approval of Human Resources Coordinator job description. Third one being approval of donation of 6 Stalker dual radar units and 10 rifle resistant body armor to the Alpine Police Department from the Texas Department of Public Safety.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion, we accept that consent agenda in its entirety as presented.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion? Okay, see none, moving on. All in favor of the motion, please raise your right hand. All opposed, like sign. All in favor, unanimous. Okay, moving on to information or discussion items. Okay, Councilmember Stokes.
Regional EMS analytical research discussion by Executive Director of the Big Bend Regional Hospital District, JD Newsom. Got the floor, JD.
Good evening. Thank you all.
Good evening.
Appreciate y'all's time today. I wanted to discuss and inform you all about an initiative that I'm starting to have some conversations about what a regional EMS operation might look like. I think the sudden death of Mike Scudder really showed the region how precarious our EMS operations are. And at the time, one of the solutions was, well, let's look at a regional solution. Let's have the hospital district do it. And our board was really hesitant because we were on such a tight deadline. I will say Alpine was very fortunate to find such a wonderful partner with Emergent Air to provide EMS operations for us. But there are six different agencies that provide EMS operations in the Tri-Counties, and all of them are struggling. And I think part of this exercise is really looking at what's the vision for EMS 10 years down the road. Where do we want to be? Do we want to be in another place where we're hanging on by a thread and really scrambling to find a solution? Or can we have some discussions now to really educate ourselves in what some options might be, and not only for the benefit of all of the residents in the Tri-Counties, but also for the benefit of the taxpayer, because I think there are some strategies that with consolidation that could help save money, could help leverage buying all these capital assets, improve training, recruitment, all these things. I will say these are conversations that we're going to have. I've got a Master's of Public Health intern coming online that's required to devote 300 hours to this project. So she's going to be helping us do a lot of background research, academic research, helping us do some analysis. What I hope coming out of this is to have some recommendations that I can take back to everybody and for further discussion. Talking with Larry Francel, the grant coordinator for Jeff Davis County. He's got a foundation that he thinks would be very interested in this project. So we're going to put together a grant proposal to help get us a grant to do bring in a facilitator to help with these projects. But the hope is to get a foundation interested to see this, to help us see it through to maybe implementing something. And so my guess this is going to be a long process, but a worthy process that I think will, in the long run, help us make educated decisions moving forward. Any questions or thoughts?
What is Presidio and Talingua and Martha? What do they think about us all trying to work together?
Yes. So, and I'm going around talking to all the entities, and everybody's very everybody's very positive about this, and everybody's ready to have these discussions. I think if you would have suggested this 5 years ago, everybody would have said no. But I think that we're in a different place, and it's just going to get harder each year to run these these operations, and everybody's really willing to come to the table with open minds and have these discussions.
Everybody's struggling with the same issues. Staffing, they can't get staff, they can't get the money to buy new ambulances, the costs keep going up, but it's just a management issue as well as money issue in all the different entities.
I think this is wonderful, and I thank you for taking the initiative on this and getting it started.
So great.
Would it have a private entity or is the hospital district at a, how would that work?
So I think that's part of the
What y'all are gonna figure out.
to figure that out, and it could, we're a very unique place, and it's going to require a very unique solution, and it may be there's all kinds of different paths, but I think that's part of the challenge is figuring out what's going to work for everybody in the most equitable and beneficial way. So, but and to be realistic, it's going to be a long process. A lot of different entities are involved, but I'm excited that everybody wants to participate, and I hope, and I'll be talking with Megan about how we can make sure you guys are part of that process and whatnot. So
Now, when you say long process, how long are you estimating?
to be
Not
honest,
90 days.
I mean, I think, and it depends on the recommendations. I'm hoping to come back pretty quickly with some initial recommendations. But if we're, depending on the solution, it could take years. One of the solutions is, well, let's form some ESDs that could be, span multiple county jurisdictions to support the entire region. I mean, that could take years to put together because it's multi-jurisdictional. So I don't know. I mean, it could take a long time, but I think if we don't start now, we'll never get there. So
Absolutely.
The hospital district was formed by the state legislature. Would some of the proposals that your group would come up with have to be approved by the Texas state legislature?
So there are examples, and I'll use hospital district as an example. There's Hamilton County Hospital District is they run an EMS operation that spans 4 counties. Their boundary for the hospital district is just that one county, but they figured out an equitable way to provide EMS operations to multiple counties. So that's one example of how this could happen. I don't know that would require an act of legislation. I mean, we are by county, so we already have that by county look. But Jeff Davis County needs to be in these conversations because our hospital here serves, they serve the Tri-County, so we should not be leaving them out of these conversations.
There could be interlocal agreements among cities and counties to agree to pay a certain amount of money, maybe to the hospital district, maybe let the hospital district be the manager of the contract. That would be one way to do it without having to go to the legislature.
But when this district was formed, I think Jeff Davis County opted out. They were asked to be a part of the, make it a tri-county hospital district. And they wanted to do their indigent care through their county government and not through the district, like we do it here in Presidio County.
So, and if you look at Terlingua Fire and EMS is a nonprofit organization, and they are supported by an ESD in South County, but a nonprofit organization, they would have no geographic boundaries, and they could be the operator, and agreements could be made, which with all of the entities to support that regional. There's all kinds of different pathways, but I think part of the analysis is looking at what makes the most sense for us.
Well, you're on the right track, for sure.
Well,
Reeves County recently set up 2 emergency service districts, one for fire and one for ambulance. But their fortunate situation was all the tax revenue from the oil and gas. We don't have that.
Helps to have an oil well in your backyard.
So great, and I'll keep you guys updated on our progress.
Thank you.
Thank you, JD. Thank you. Okay, moving on to action items. Councilmember Stokes. the first one.
Here's the second final reading of ordinance 2022-05-02, an ordinance amending chapter 10, animals, amending article 1. In general, amending article 4, dangerous animals, providing an updated dangerous dog determination process and providing updated definitions.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded. Discussions? Okay, all in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, like sign, unanimous, passes. Okay, item number 2, Councilmember Stokes.
Approved resolution 2022-06-01, a resolution supporting the wilderness designation for undeveloped areas of Big Bend National Park.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion?
I do have a question. What are we actually doing to support Big Bend National Park, just out of curiosity?
We do have,
I'm also here in case
Oh.
you would like.
Good.
Would you like for me to address that?
Yes, sir.
Sure, please come to the podium.
Yes.
I mean, it seems to me like you're already somewhat of a wilderness.
Well,
So,
that's what we want to maintain and ensure into the future. Believe it or not, national park lands, aren't immune from some future initiative that might decide to, bulldoze new areas or roads or developments.
we dealt with
Now,
that in 4 days.
Right, so to clarify, all the existing developments, would stay, not change, all of the facilities and activities would remain. This would simply say that the areas that are not developed will stay that way. And to specifically your question, what is your role? This takes a federal legislation through the Congress signed by a president to come to pass. Congressman Gonzalez, his primary question was, do the local entities, elected officials and bodies and businesses and many individuals support it? He wants to see that, it's not some, huge controversy or something like that. And so the request for this resolution simply puts you all on record as being one of the supporters. It doesn't require any other action or any money or anything like that.
Well, that's good.
And we have a website that is keepbigbendwild.org. It has a list of supporters to date, and should you choose to join that list, it would be a prominent body in the supporters list of elected bodies.
Can I get you to state your name for the
Oh,
record?
sorry, yes. Raymond Skiles. I'm a retiree of the National Park Service, born in Alpine, but worked most of my career in Big Bend. And I'm one of the members of the Keep Big Bend Wild initiative. We were here about, 3 weeks ago or so, making the presentation initially. Sorry. Any other questions?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you for your consideration.
Very well.
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Okay, Megan.
Approved resolution 2022-06-02, a resolution adopting an amended swimming pool fee schedule for fiscal year 2022 for the Alpine Municipal Swimming Pool.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I would make a motion, we approve resolution 2022-06-01.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? See none. All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Okay, city manager.
Approve the use of Bojorquez Law Firm to assist with the development of an extraterritorial jurisdiction agreement with Brewster County.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
I'd like to discuss it. I'd like to put this off till after the first of the year. I've been contacted by several county officials. We're gonna hire a law firm and just spend money on something they're never gonna approve. So I'd like to amend this where we put it off until after the new year.
So you want to postpone it until,
So you're saying that Brewster County is not going to.
They're
be
not
open
gonna
to
approve
any-
anything that's handed to them. That's what I've been told.
Me too.
So I don't see any reason to spend money on a law firm to do anything.
All in favor of postponing? Raise your right hand. Those opposed, like sign. Okay. Motion is
We have to vote
postponed.
on the original one.
We have to vote on the
Okay.
original motion.
All right. All in favor of the original motion, raise your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Okay, all right, motion is postponed. All right, city manager, Megan.
approve a large animal permit application allowing the applicant Oscar Oscarson to possess a horse, a mule, and a steer within the city limits. The property in question is located at 1603 Old Marathon Highway.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I would make a motion to approve the large animal permit.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Gio, can you tell us if there was any kind of response to the letters that the city sent out, either for or against this?
No, we did, per our ordinance, we are required to do a public hearing. But we're not required to send out letters, if I'm not mistaken, but we didn't get any feedback one way or the other regarding this permit.
Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, all in favor of this motion, raise your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Okay, motion carries. All right, so city council member comments. We'll start with council member
I
Stokes.
didn't make any of the stuff Memorial Day because my granddaughter graduated valedictorian, so I was in hot Luling, Texas. But I understand it was real nice and I had nobody graduate next year, so I would be able to come. That's it.
And I just wanted to thank the Spirit of the West Texas for the tickets they provided us with. It was very enjoyable.
I just want to say thank you for the city clean up your Memorial Day. I went out there to the landfill. It was real organized. Easy to go down the tires here, scrap here, junk here, so.
Good. Councilmember Johnson. Okay, and I want to thank Jennifer and Heather for their presentations, and thank you also to JD Newsom. Council, I want to thank you for all that you do and for the questions that you ask. And our city employees, thank you for all that you do and the hard work and the hours that you put in to making sure that things get done. Okay, so I ask for a motion to adjourn. Okay, seconded?
I will also.
Okay, adjourn.